When you hear Florida Everglades, what comes to your mind? Now, I think swamps, airboats, and alligators. You too? Do you remember Hurricane Andrew? It was a Category 5 storm. Now, it was way back in 1992. Now, we always hear about the horrible things that happen during hurricanes, but get this. During Hurricane Andrew, a Burmese python breeding facility, it was destroyed. And inside that facility, there were, get this one, 900 pythons that were now free to slither away into the Everglades. In today's episode, Amy Siewe, she joins me. She's known as the Python Huntress. A lover of reptiles since she was young, on a trip down to Florida, she went on a python hunt. And the rest is history. And after that hunt, she absolutely knew that that's what she wanted to do for herself. So she left her successful real estate business and moved to Miami with one plan. She was going to hunt snakes herself. Today, it's estimated there's close to 500,000 pythons that have infested the Everglades area. Pythons are constrictor snakes that grow up to 23 feet long. That's right, 23 feet. Now, they prey on small mammals and even small alligators, and because their population is growing so fast, these mammals are now starting to dwindle. Like Amy, other people are working with the state to help control this and hopefully make the population of these snakes get smaller. Now, Amy takes people on python hunts for those wanting to get firsthand experience. Think about those alligator tours, but instead think hunting these slithering reptiles. This episode may not be snakes on a plane, but trust me, the Python Huntress has an entertaining, informative story to tell. So sit back, slither down in your seat, get ready. This is a good one.
For real, 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 for real. Got a bunch of furry friends and I love them all the same. I'm an animal lover, veterinarian is the name. Let's share some pet stories from heartwarming to strange, losses and gains, from wacky to insane. For real. You're now tuned in to For Real with your host, Markakyle.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Thefurreal Podcast. Today, I have a really special guest, Amy Siewe. Amy, welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me. This is exciting.
Well, it's exciting for me for so many reasons, but I was thinking about this before doing this. You may have the most interesting job of any person I've ever met in my entire life. I'm thinking about that. I can't think of anybody that has more eccentric, crazy job in it, and I know how much you love it. So I think it's great. But man, I don't know that I've met anybody that's got as crazy a job as you.
Probably not. Probably not.
Okay, so what I was thinking we do is I'm going to talk about you. We'll get into the pythons here in a minute, but I want to talk about you, where you grew up, how you got to where you are, what drove you to Florida and all that kind of stuff. So let's just, wherever you want to start growing up and how you got to what you're doing.
Sure. Well, people always question if I really am a python hunter because apparently I don't look like one. And so then I have to show them the videos.
So what does a python hunter look like, though? I don't know what they look like.
I don't know. Apparently, like
Crocodile Dundee.
Yeah, exactly. And like Dusty Crumb, God love him, but he definitely looks like a python hunter.
Right.
Done some of the shows, but apparently I don't. So I sometimes have to prove it to people and show them videos, and they're like, "Oh, wow, you do catch pythons." So, and then the next question always is, "Why?"
Right.
Like, why do you do this? Well, my dad put me in a creek when I was little and taught me how to catch all kinds of cool critters.
And where was that? Where'd you grow up at?
In Ohio.
Okay, cool.
And yeah, by Dayton, Ohio. And so I just had this fascination with snakes, and I don't really know why. Maybe it's because we didn't see them that often. Maybe it was because it was kind of a challenge to catch them. But whatever it was, I just had this fascination, and it kind of turned into this obsession and passion. And I never outgrew it. But I did so many things with snakes, like growing up and then going to college. I was a breeder. I did the exotic pet thing. I did the exotic vet thing. So snakes were always a part of my world, but it was really more as a hobby.
Did you ever think about being a veterinarian or at all, any of that stuff?
Now, I never wanted to be a vet, but my freshman year in college at University of Toledo, I volunteered at the Toledo Zoo in the herpetology department, which is the reptiles and amphibians. And, I was just like the clean out girl, but I got to see firsthand what the zoologists, biologists, herpetologists did. And they just kind of were in their labs with their microscopes writing their papers, and it was insanely boring to me. I was
I
like,
got
there
it.
is no possible way I could do this. Now, God love them, I work with a ton of biologists now, and they are awesome at what they do. It's just not my personality type. And so I knew right off the bat that that's not what I wanted to major in, which saved me a lot of time and money in the end. So I was actually a communications marketing major, but like I said, it was always, more so like I had those odd jobs and stuff in college, but it was more a hobby for me, after college and everything.
Sure.
And then I learned that pythons were in Florida. And I thought, wait a minute. Okay. So instead of catching a 6-foot black rat snake in Ohio or Indiana or wherever I was at the time, I could catch a 20-foot python. Sign me up. I've got to see this. So I actually came down to Florida for a vacation. I went on a hunt and caught a 9-foot python, and I was hooked. I knew right then and there. I'm like, yep, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to be doing.
It's so funny. I remember, it's funny because growing up, I don't know the kids get it as much as probably when you were growing up, and for me in particular, because we'd go out in the woods and we'd go in the creek and catch crawfish and
Oh, yeah.
whatever else. Now, I remember catching a grass snake, which was, 1.5 feet long, if that, maybe a foot long. And back then they had this spray Band-Aid thing. It was kind of like a plastic thing. And, where they defecate down by their tail there,
Oh, yeah.
I actually Band-Aided that thing. My mom
Oh,
goes, "What are you doing? You're going to kill that thing."
that's funny.
That's about the biggest python I want to be with, by the way. But
That's so
anyway,
funny. I love it.
yeah,
I love it. Well, it's funny because it reminds me of this story when I would go in the creeks, without my dad and I'm probably in like 5th grade by this time now, maybe 4th grade. I don't really remember, but I was in one of the creeks with one of my friends, and there was like this little, now I know it was a northern water snake that is non-venomous, but I didn't really know what it was. And when I picked it up, it bit me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I think I'm going to die. My dad's going to be so mad that I got bitten by a venomous snake. And so we were like monitoring my little bite mark that was so microscopic, and like, oh my gosh, how are you feeling, Amy? Are you okay? Do you think that we need to go to the hospital? Like all of this, like in 5th grade, I thought I was going to die from a little baby northern water snake bite, but
never got ready. I got one more snake story I just thought of when we're talking. This is about you, but I got to tell you about me. Anyway, growing up, we lived all over the place, and we moved to Alabama, so right next to you guys almost. And my family used to go fishing all the time, and we went camping down this lake just south of where we lived called Guntersville Lake. And I think we had like a trailer tent, and there were, we had 5 kids in the family, but I think the kids slept in like the station wagon. So we'd be fishing all day, catching fish. And my parents, of course, we go to bed. My parents would sit outside in lawn chairs and fish and drink and do whatever they were doing. And then we were having lunch one day. My dad had caught a couple of big bass, and I went to check on the stringer, and here was this water moccasin grabbing by the belly this bass and just shaking it. Just freaked me out. Of course, I went to check on it, running back. My parents are going, "Oh my God!" Anyways, during the day, as kids do, we're swimming like in the water and that, and then we clean our fish, not the one that the moccasin was trying to get. Clean the fish. And we go to leave, and my dad turns the lights on, and out in the water, I swear to you, there are probably 30 snake heads out in the water. So freaky.
wow.
And it's scared, like you getting bit. That scared me so much. I'll never forget my dad threw like this big something out, like a big rock or something. And literally 2 snakes went out of the water. They can jump out of the water. They can jump. And jumped out of the water going for that thing. And ever since then, I've never been much of a snake person.
Everybody has their thing and their reason. That's crazy though.
Yeah. Oh, it was totally crazy. I mean, I can visualize it today, many, 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 many years later. So anyways, back to you. So you go down, you decide you're going to do it, and then you end up moving to Florida.
Yeah. I was actually a real estate broker for the last 13 years before I moved down here. So I mean, I had a pretty big business in Indianapolis, and I, and I loved real estate. That's the thing. I was not looking for a career change at all. I loved what I did. All of my goals, were all centered around growing my team, growing my business in real estate. And so changing careers was not on the table, and
Right.
moving wasn't. And so, but when I got down here and I had that Python, I was just like, this is it, man. Like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I don't know how, I don't know what, I don't know how this is going to even look, but whatever this is my calling. And I just knew it in my heart. And so I said, all right, let's just do it. So in less than 2 months, I sold my database, kind of wrapped my stuff up, rented a room from a guy that I found online in Miami.
On Craigslist?
Yeah, pretty much. And moved to Florida to figure out how to become a python hunter.
So you moved, I think what I read, you moved to Miami. So are you in Miami now? Are you in a different location to get closer to what you're doing?
No, I'm in Naples. So when we came on vacation in January of like 2019, I guess it was, we were on the West Coast. So we were down kind of by Everglades City, 10,000 islands, it's kind of our speed.
Right.
But when I moved here, I wanted to move to the Miami side because I wasn't going to buy anything or lease. I mean, it was just renting a room. So I didn't have to, it wasn't a big commitment.
Right.
But I wanted to find out, because back then, almost everything Python was happening in Miami, and all of the people were in Miami, all the places were in Miami. So I wanted to see if it would make more sense to be in Miami.
So when you say all the people, what does that mean specifically?
Like the hunters, like the people that were, in the Python industry.
Okay.
It was most of them were in Miami. So that's why I wanted to go. And quickly I found out that I'm not really a Miami person. I like the 10,000 islands a lot better.
That's a different kind of snake.
It is. And Dave, my fiance, he couldn't move down right away because he had a business too that he couldn't just close up and move like I could. So I was down here by myself for quite a while, and quickly I learned that I go from real estate to go 24/7, totally busy, to I wake up that Monday morning after that first night, and I'm like, oh, what do I do now?
Yeah.
And so I just networked. I just called, looked people up, called people, hey, I want to be a python hunter. What do I have to do? Who do I have to know? And I spend time driving around all over South Florida, just looking at places because, at that point, the state python program was just a pilot program. And so nobody could tell me.
What year was this?
2019.
Okay.
So they started those programs in 2017, but they hadn't really expanded them or anything. So nobody could tell me if they were even going to continue the programs, and if they were going to continue them, if they were going to hire anybody else. So, I mean, I had no idea. I came down here not knowing that, not having a job, not knowing anybody, not knowing even how to catch pythons, because nobody really has ever had to catch pythons in the United States. And so it was just like this whole, I'm just going to come down and figure it out. So that's what I did.
For real, 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 for real.
And we'll be right back. We are supported by PrepVet, providing stem cell therapy for pets.
As a pet lover, did you know your pet can benefit from the incredible healing power of stem cell therapy? Prep Therapy offers a groundbreaking solution taken right from your pet's own blood. Say goodbye to joint pain, arthritis, kidney and liver conditions, and more. They'll experience faster recovery, increased vitality, and extended quality of life without the need for surgery or harmful drugs. Put the wag back in their tail and discover Prep Therapy today at prepvet.com. Save 10% with promo code FURREALPODCAST, covered by most pet insurance.
Let's talk about pythons now so people know. And then I want to get in, there's not a python hunting school. So I want to get into that part. But so everybody understands what a python is, how they got there, kind of the background in that now. And then let's go into the python huntress thing. Okay.
Sure. So pythons are an invasive species here in Florida. So they're not supposed to be here. They're actually originally from Southeast Asia. And the problem with the pythons is that they're tropical animals. They thrive in the South Florida environment. They're the apex predators here. So nothing else goes after them except for people. And they have eaten 98% of the mammals in parts of the Everglades.
Right.
They are devastating this ecosystem.
So let's talk mammals, because I there's a list of a bunch of them, so people understand what's down there. Can you kind of go through what that means when they're eating those, other than that woodland rat thing?
Sure. I mean, the marsh rabbits, squirrels, wading birds, raccoons, possums, bobcats, deer, alligators. I mean, pythons eat everything except for other snakes, fish, and turtles.
So they're not cannibals, and they don't eat other snakes.
Nope.
Huh, that's interesting. Hey, one of the things, by the way, I apologize on every episode I do. My mind bounces all over the place, so I got to apologize.
No problem.
I was reading a thing about, because there's the American alligator down there, and I was just thinking about a movie actually, but how the alligator is the predator, the prey of the python, and vice versa, depending on size of both of them, right?
Yes. Yep. Exactly.
Which is kind of cool. So I'm visualizing kind of like a Godzilla movie, the alligator versus a python, because at a certain point, one takes over the other one. But I guess the pythons eat the younger alligators, not the bigger ones, or?
Well, they do. Yeah, that they do. But, and over on the East Coast, by Miami and Fort Lauderdale, that's where the majority of the mammals have disappeared. The python's diet is mostly birds and alligators. So I think it was like a 14 or 15 foot python we took a 6-foot alligator out of.
Wow.
So that's a pretty good sized gator.
Yeah. No, I know. Well, yeah. And they're fast too, by the way.
They are.
I mean,
They are.
those things ain't got you. Anyway, I'm sorry. I got you off your train of thought, but I was thinking I could totally see the movie.
Yeah, I'm sure. Well, and the interesting thing is it's the pythons, like the pythons don't prefer the gators, and the gators really don't prefer the pythons. And a lot of times, I'm sure you've seen the news with this gator, carrying this python down the canal. I think that's more of the python came into the alligator territory, or it, was around a nest,
right? And
the gator attacked it. It's not necessarily because it wanted to eat it,
right?
Because they're really hard to eat. Like a big python is actually very hard for an alligator to eat, because the alligator eats in one bite. Right. So it has to keep like getting it down its throat. I mean, we found one that had it came up onto the road. The alligator did. And as we approached it in the truck, the gator took off into the canal, but there was a dead python in the road. The first part of it, like it was probably a 9-footer. So the first 4 feet were all deflated and, gross, like it was in the stomach. And then the other half of it was all bloated and, nasty smelling. So it's like the gator couldn't get it all down. So after a couple of days, so it came up to get it out of its mouth, I guess. It was very strange. So
yeah, so gross.
Yeah, it is.
So many ways. And so let's talk a little bit more about pythons. How did they get there in Florida? Because they're not native to that. And I mean, there's a bunch of assumptions. I read something that they actually saw pythons back in the 1930s, but that's not the reason why when you read about it, how they really got the ones we're dealing with now in particular. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. The first pythons actually started showing up in the 70s. That's when the exotic pet trade started happening in Miami.
Right.
And so, yeah, there was the one-off. There, people let them go because they get too big to house, handle, and feed. And so they just said, hey, go live in the Everglades. Well, that's, that is, I mean, a little part of the problem. But the main issue, the reason that we have this gigantic epic problem is because Hurricane Andrew came through in 92 and demolished a breeding facility, and it sent 900 pythons into the same general vicinity of the Everglades.
So it's 900. I never saw that number. I wondered how many there were.
Yep. That's the estimation. So they were being bred for the pet industry, though,
right?
Because the Burmese pythons were such popular pets because they have a generally docile disposition in comparison to some of the other big constrictors. So they were very popular, and that's why they were being bred. Well, of course, Andrew came through and just leveled Miami and, the zoo and everything. And this thing, was destroyed. But it's in the middle of the Everglades, and that's, over 30 years ago. And, Miami and Naples, they weren't built up like they are now even. So not that that really matters, but nobody really thought that it'd ever be an issue.
Well, the other thing too is that Miami or South Florida is it's a big epicenter for exotic pets, not only snakes but everything. And that's one of the reasons why they were there,
It is.
which I didn't know, but it makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
Again, a different kind of snake is what I said earlier.
In the north, like, growing up in Ohio and living in Indiana, if somebody let their pet python go, a few pets might be missing during the summer, but it's not a big deal because it'll die because it's
Right.
cold, but here it's a totally different story. And that's why, we have over 500 invasive species here in Florida between plants, insects, birds, fish, reptiles, everything. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, you have to walk in catfish down there.
Yeah. Yes.
And anyway, so that storm happens, they're there, and then I read, and there's so many things I've read that, again, I apologize, but typically when a snake has a clutch of eggs, it's anywhere from 20 to 50, where the big numbers start coming from. If all these, you got 900 out there and just do the multiplication.
Right. Yeah. It's pretty staggering.
And we're never ever, and then I'm going to get back on track, but there's no way we're ever going to eradicate them completely. One, it's the environment there and you can't get everywhere, but two it's impossible. So you guys are basically, what you're doing now is really trying to slow it down and control it at that point, right?
Yeah, but we're not even doing that.
Really?
There's an estimated 500,000 pythons out there. And, since 2017, since these programs started, collectively, all of the agencies have caught about 26,000 pythons. So that's over 8 years or something?
Yeah. Wow.
So, it's, when you look at it like that, it's kind of, it's deflating a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, does this make sense? Should we even be doing this? But at the same time, it takes a python 3 years to get to be 10 feet, and it takes 200 animals to get it there. Right. So
right.
Every python that we're taking out is making a difference and saving hundreds of our native animals' lives. So are we, prolonging the extinction of our native animals? Maybe. But if we can do that long enough for all the research that's going on now to figure out a better way to do this, then it's obviously worth it.
Yeah, make them sterilized or something like that. Because if you do the math, so if you're doing 200 in 3 years, so that's roughly 70 a year, and you've killed, let's say, 20,000. So 10 would be 70 would be 700,000. That's 1.4 million you've saved. Not if you're getting rid of all of them, of saving animals.
Right. And that's just in the first 3 years. These things live for 25 years. Of course, once they hit a point, they don't eat quite as much, but they eat bigger items. That's why we don't have all of our deer are disappearing now, because we've got so many big pythons and they're eating the deer now.
Well, by the way, talk about, because one thing is they're not poisonous. Talk a little bit about that, and then talk about, I think it was in your website, or one of the things I read that about the golden retriever. I think that may have been used at the.
Oh yeah.
But get to that, because they're not out hunting pets, but they could eat a pet. But talk about all that kind of stuff too, and then I want to get back into the great python huntress story.
Well, the pythons are not venomous, right? So they're constrictors. So they do have a mouth full of razor sharp teeth, though. So they bite. They're ambush predators. So they'll literally lie in wait, and when something comes by, they'll just lightning fast strike it and wrap it, and then they'll suffocate it and then eat it. So that's what the pythons do. It's still not a bite that I don't recommend getting bitten by them still, but
that's the thing. And I'm sorry to interrupt again, but I wanted to say, when you talk about them, they're sort of docile, but they got sharp razor-like teeth. That doesn't sound docile to me.
Well, when they're babies, if you just play with them a little bit, they're totally fine. They're great, but when they want to bite, and it's part of the job. I've been bitten many, many, many times, but you just have to, it is what it is, I guess.
So when an animal comes by, they I guess, strike at them and bite them to slow them down, and then they wrap themselves around and squeeze them to death, basically.
Well, yeah, they bite them, and so they can pull them in, so they can wrap around them.
Oh, they drag them to themselves. Oh, that makes
Right.
sense.
And it's like it's in less than a second. It's so fast. I mean, the animal has no idea what even happened.
So, okay. God, I have so many questions. So how fast are they? If they can strike fast, how fast can they move on the ground?
Well, when they want to, they can move very fast. They're generally very slow, and they travel in a straight line, so you can barely even tell that they're moving. But once they get spooked or they want to take off, let me tell you, they're fast, like really, really fast. So you have to make sure, like when I'm catching these pythons, I have to make sure that I've got them behind the head, because if you go after like a 14, 15-foot python and you try to grab it, first of all, by the tail, it's going to laugh at you.
Yeah.
And, turn around and bite you, and it's probably going to get away. But you can't really grab, there's nothing to grab onto. And they're so strong. They're so incredibly strong. So you have to have them, in the right grip. Otherwise, forget about it.
Yeah, not me. Anyway. So, okay, let's go to the dog thing, and then I'm going to get back to your story on how, you're now in Florida figuring it out. But talk about, they're not out hunting, cats and dogs, but they'll eat them if they're around, especially the feral ones. But talk about the golden retriever one. It kind of freaked me out.
Yeah, so a 14-foot python can eat a full-grown golden retriever, no problem.
And that's real fast.
Oh, yeah. Pythons don't generally go after, they don't really go after pets. They don't want to be in urban areas. The neighborhoods that we find pythons in are usually backed up to nature preserves or, the swamp or something like that. And it's usually during the temperature change, like in the winter when it's starting to get cooler, they'll come up for warmth, but it doesn't last very long. So they really don't want anything to do with us. They don't want anything to do with your pets, really. Not that it's not a concern, because it is, and you shouldn't just, go in the swamp and let your dog go play. Actually, they're more likely to be attacked by an alligator than a python, probably. But you want to be cautious about it. But yeah, I mean, it's a real thing. And the problem is that their food sources are running out. They're eating everything. So what does that mean? Will they start infiltrating the neighborhoods a little more to snag the pets? Maybe,
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, that's a great thought.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
Okay. So let's go back to Miami. You're now trying to learn everything. So talk a little bit about your learning process, and let's move forward to today and everything you're doing and what the Python Huntress really is.
Well, the learning process was just that. I mean, nobody really knew how to catch pythons. I had a lot of experience with pythons in captivity, but not, where to find them, what their habits are, because we just don't know. Nobody ever had to know. And so it was a lot of trial and error. It was a lot of the hunters, us just talking back and forth saying, hey, I just caught this python. These were the weather conditions. This is where it was. This is the time, things like that. And us just kind of talking and figuring out where the pythons were moving, when they were moving, things like that. And there's a lot of research, like I said, going on. And the problem is we know a lot more than we did, but we still don't know enough. I mean,
right.
These things spend 85% of their time not moving.
What do you mean? I mean, they just lay around?
Well, yeah. I mean, if they eat something like a big meal, they'll just hang out in the same place. They'll just find a nice little warm spot and, under the ground cover or whatever, and stay there for a few weeks.
Yeah, because they don't have to eat all the time. Once they eat, I mean, that's one of the things I read is that they don't have to eat all the time. They eat regularly, but they don't have to eat because they can go a long time without food because they eat so much at a normal feeding time, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, and it depends on how big the python is and how much it's eaten. But yeah, they can go a really long time without eating. And sometimes in the winter, they'll just, that is their breeding season, but there was one tagged python that, we had the radio transmitter in, and it stayed in the same place for 3 months straight. It didn't even move. So
Just laid there.
Yep.
So instead of being a lazy dog, you're a lazy snake. I
Right.
guess that's what at the end of the day.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly. So I don't know. They're very hard to figure out, and that's the problem with this. But as far as like the learning curve and what we did, that's all we did, because there's no training for it. There's no, I mean, you can take a class at FWC, like an online class or something, that show you how to catch a python, but that doesn't do anything. I mean, you have to be out there and not afraid. And I think that's a big thing. People ask me a lot, okay, if you love snakes so much, why do you want to kill them? And I 100% do not want to kill them.
Right.
If there was any other way, we would do it. But 90% of the python hunters out there are just like me, in that we love snakes. We've always loved snakes. But that's what makes us so good at our job, because we know a lot about them. We're not afraid of them. We constantly want to learn, and we have a tremendous respect for them. So we're treating them, in the most humane way when we're catching them, and we're, euthanizing them and everything. But we know we have to do that, but we also have a tremendous respect for the Florida ecosystem, and we know they have to go.
Yeah, because the euthanization, if that's a real word, program in Florida is through, it's the water department and the wildlife department. Is that who are the people that are managing all that? Is it Fish and Game? Who is it?
Yeah, so we've got FWC and the Florida Fish and Wildlife Commission and South Florida Water Management District, and those two government entities they both have python programs, like 50 python contractors in each program, but they all follow the same rules, right? But the way that pythons are euthanized, whether it's through the python hunter contractors, through the state, or the general public, you have to follow the American Veterinary Association approved methods for euthanasia of the pythons. So that's very important, and follow the anti-cruelty laws. We can't, we have to do this in the most humane way possible.
Yeah, and the other thing is too that, and I want you to get into this because I can say it and you live it, but there's a reason why they have to be euthanized. They can't be relocated, and there's a variety of reasons why. You want to get into that a little bit. By the way, these guys are Burmese pythons, so they're from Southeast Asia, so they're not indigenous to our part of the world, but now they now have generations that have grown up there. So anyways, why can't they be relocated for the people that are snake lovers and don't want to have anything bad happen to them?
Right. The first instinct, what people said was, oh, let's just send them back to Asia. Well, the problem is that we've got diseases, we've got parasites that are unique to Florida and to the United States. So if we would take all these pythons out and put them back in Asia, we could potentially be threatening that Burmese python population, along with all of the other animals that are in Southeast Asia, with our diseases and our parasites. So we definitely can't do that. But also the expense of doing that would be insane, and it wouldn't make any sense. But then people say, oh, well, let's find homes for them. Well, that was kind of the problem in the beginning.
Yeah, let's find homes for 500,000 snakes. Let's do that.
Yeah, and then what are you going to feed them? Like a 15-foot python. Are you going to feed it a goat? What are you? How is that going to work? So there's just the intention was good when people came up with these ideas, but the reality of it is it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, aside from the animal protective kind of thing, the reality is that we're also protecting, probably in the low end, 70 animals per snake per year.
Yep.
So you look at that, and they're not supposed to be there. So I want to get back to you, though. Because I'm so fascinated about this. Okay, so you go out and you're kind of figuring out. So when you talk to people that were actually catching the snakes at certain times, it reminded me of when I was listening to you, it's kind of like fishing, because you look at tides, the weather, and all that. Is it similar to that too? Because especially saltwater fishing, if there's a big moon out there and all that kind of thing, is that all relative too when you're snake hunting?
I mean, we don't know. I hate saying that.
It sounds good though.
But yeah, I know it does. Like there is a pattern, and there are specific conditions that the majority of pythons will move. We just don't know what those are, because we'll have a night that's hot and humid and all the hunters are out there and we're like, oh my God, this is going to be an awesome night. We're going to catch some, and nobody catches anything. And then you have a night that it's like, I'm just going to go out and catch a 17-footer, so it's so hard. But then at the same time, were they moving and we just weren't in the right place? Because that's about 90% of what this is right time, right place. You've got to be there when that python decides to come out.
Right.
And because you can't just walk through the swamp. That's like the big thing. I thought when I moved here that I was going to just start tromping through the swamp and I was going to be slinging these things out left and right. It is totally not like that at all. It takes an average of 12 hours to catch one python.
Yeah, I'm going to visualize this. Okay. So, because I've never been snake hunting. I'm not saying I never will, but if I do, I'm going with you. But so you now go and do you have, first of all, how many, I'm sure, do you guys have to be registered to be a snake hunter or not?
No, the only way you can get paid is if you are contracted by the state.
Okay. So the contracted snake hunters, how many are there roughly? Do you have any idea?
About 100.
So there's about 100. Okay. So there's 100 of those guys, and you guys probably all know each other. So do you kind of say, okay, I'm going in this area this night and you stay away from my area? I mean, do you guys have your own specific hunting grounds? How does that work?
No, it's just because so I'm not actually a contractor anymore. I was for 4 years.
Okay.
But now I do my own thing. But no, we're not, if we did have dedicated areas, it would be great because I think we could get a lot more data, but they're not employees of the state, so they can't dictate when and where you go hunting. So it's just kind of like go out and see if you can find some pythons.
And so just, because it's like, I can only relate to fishing because I fish.
Sure.
So we all have our favorite fishing spots or holes or whatever. Do you have your favorite snake places?
I do, and it depends on the season and the weather.
And the full moon and the tide, I know.
So here's a problem too. This is an invasive species. We're all on this working together to try to get rid of these, but we don't find pythons every time we go out. Like I said, it takes an average of 12 hours to catch one python. So when you find a spot that you've been finding them regularly, you don't want a ton of people there because first of all, when you have a ton of people in one area, kind of like with this python challenge that's getting ready to happen,
right?
The snakes don't take on their normal behavioral patterns.
Right, of course.
So they just don't come out as much. And so when you get too many people in one area, that's what happens. So do I want people to go in my spots? Heck no, I don't. But I mean, that's kind of selfish because we just need to get rid of them, So it's
right.
like that kind of, where is this? How do you manage that?
Right.
For real, 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 for real.
And we'll be right back. We are supported by PrepVet, providing stem cell therapy for pets.
As a pet lover, did you know your pet can benefit from the incredible healing power of stem cell therapy? Prep Therapy offers a groundbreaking solution taken right from your pet's own blood. Say goodbye to joint pain, arthritis, kidney and liver conditions, and more. They'll experience faster recovery, increased vitality, and extended quality of life without the need for surgery or harmful drugs. Put the wag back in their tail and discover Prep Therapy today at prepvet.com. Save 10% with promo code FURREALPODCAST, covered by most pet insurance.
You mentioned the Python Challenge. Talk about that because that was started a while back ago, and now you guys are doing it every year. And what is that specifically? I've actually seen it on TV, some stuff on it, but can you tell everybody what that is?
Yeah, the Python Challenge is put on by the state, and it's 10 days out of the year that you pay $25 registration fee, and you can come down and you can hunt the pythons. You have to go through a little training class online with FWC so you can identify what is a python and what's not, because right now we've got all the babies coming out, so they're all the 2 feet long and they're the size of our normal snake, so a lot of people don't know the difference and they'll end up killing our native snakes. But so here's a problem. We have 1,500 people in an area that there should be like 40.
I can only picture
and it's the worst. When I worked for the state, I wasn't allowed to talk bad about the Python Challenge. But everybody that does this for a living hates the Python Challenge.
Right. Do you guys, another thought, do they ever go hunting out for the nest to get rid of all the eggs before they get there? So instead of getting rid of one, you're getting rid of 20 to 50 of them?
Oh yeah, of course. It's very difficult to find the nest because they're buried.
So they bury them.
Yeah, I mean they're in burrows, they under debris, so they're not just sitting out in the open. It's pretty difficult to find the nest. But yeah, when we do, it's a bonus. It's a good day when you find a nest.
Okay, let's. I'm so sorry the way my mind works. Okay, I am now gone. Okay, Amy, I want to go python hunting. Walk me through a night and how you guys do. I know it can be up to 12 hours to find it. So how does that work?
Sure. Well, and I'm a guide, so I do take people out.
Right.
So we have a meeting spot. So we'll meet at about dusk. I've got a truck that has I call it the snake deck. So it's a platform in the bed.
So it's similar to like a duck hunting kind of thing that they have.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've got, it's fitted for lights. It's got all the lights on there. And so we'll start and we hunt the roads in the summer at night. And the reason that we hunt the roads.
Is it off-road kind of stuff like on dirt
No,
road?
not really. Because what's happening is the pythons are going from the woods and the swamps into the canals. And the canals all run parallel to the main roads. So we're catching them when they cross the road because you can't, like I said earlier, you can't just walk through the swamp. You're never going to find them ever. So we have to wait until they're on the move and they're going somewhere with intention. So that's why we hunt the main roads. And we're going, like 5 to 12 miles an hour down the roads when we're looking for these pythons.
And so, first of all, if I'm hunting with you, we're not walking through swamps anyway. So that's not a problem. Anyways, when you're going slow and you're just looking on the side of the road and the roads to see if one's moving around, is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah. Yep. We're seeing who's coming out because if they're hidden, if they're, curled up and sleeping, you're never going to see them. So we're covering ground, making sure we're not going too fast that we miss them because they are very camouflaged and very difficult to see sometimes. But, we're waiting for the ones that are on the move.
Okay, so you're looking for them, and the people that are standing on the platform in the back, they're looking too. If they do you often find that the people that are going that they see it before you do, or do you always see it first?
I mean, it depends on which side. So the snake deck, like I'm on one side, I've got my one person on the other, and then one person's in the middle. And then sometimes if we have more than two people, they'll be in the back sitting, looking out too.
Okay.
So it just depends on which side the python's on. I mean, I usually spot most of them just because I'll take the side that's more difficult to see,
right?
Because I know what I'm looking for,
right?
So I do spot a lot of them, but my clients spot a lot of them too.
Okay, you now spot this thing, and on average, are they like 7 feet? How big are they? I know they're across the board, but when you normally find them and you guys are out there, they're probably 7 to 10 feet or something like that. Is that what they're?
Yeah, it's 6 to 9 feet is the average, and that's collectively like all of the agencies.
Okay,
that it's caught. Yeah, 6 to 9 feet.
Okay, and we're driving along. Go, Amy, look at her. There's my 6.5 foot python. What do you do then?
Well, you yell the most fun word in the universe.
Snake.
No. Python.
Okay.
Scream it. And just so everybody knows, and Dave, my driver, knows. So he stops. So we all jump out of the truck. And now prior to this, I've already gone over with them what we're looking for, how to catch, like all of that. And we've already designated who's going to catch first.
Right.
Because we don't want to have to go through all of this, when the snake's there. So we've already got that all ready to go. So I usually shimmy off faster than everybody else so I can just at least stand in front of the snake. Because the thing about these guys is that they're not like our native snakes. You know how anywhere in the United States, you take a step, you don't even know there's like a black racer there until it takes off, right?
Right.
These pythons don't do that. So they don't look at us as prey or predator. So we can usually walk right up to them.
How is their hearing? Do they have really good hearing or not?
They don't have any ears, so no.
Okay, so they can't hear you. So they feel the vibration and
yeah,
smell you, I guess.
And they see, and they have heat pits, so they can sense like
okay.
thermal imaging. So, I mean, they know they're there, but they don't look at us as prey or predator. They don't really feel that we're a threat.
Yeah, they look at, there's a big dummy.
Yeah, kind of like, okay, and why are you standing there? You're kind of annoying me now. I mean, that's kind of how it is. So, I can kind of walk my people through again, even though we've already gone over it, but I can walk them through and say, okay,
sure.
Kind of come up the back. Are you right or left-handed? And you're going to just grab them right behind the head, like the jaws. And then sometimes it's game on. Sometimes the pythons are like, okay, fine, you got me.
Okay, talk to me about game on. What does that mean?
Well, they are not happy.
Yeah.
Once you grab them, they're like, okay, no, not okay with this. And so they will, their only defense once you have them behind the head is to wrap.
Right.
So that's what they're going to try to do, is wrap around you. And they're also going to musk, as you mentioned earlier in the show.
Right.
It's a smelly liquid they secrete from their anal glands as a defense mechanism.
Right.
We call it the smell of success, because if you smell like that at the end of the night, it's been a good night.
Right.
But so, and it depends on the size of the snake. If it's under 8 feet, it's generally very easy to control. If it's 10 to 12 feet, now we're talking a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger. Sometimes it takes a little more strength to do that, maybe an extra person. And then when you're talking 15 plus feet, we have totally different protocol for that.
So okay, they're going to want to wrap around you. So if I grab a snake, let's say it's a 10 footer, let's say it's 11 footer, so it's a big one.
Okay.
I mean, not as big as a big one, but big enough. So you grab it by the neck. And is it going to try to wrap around your legs or something like that? Or do you have somebody in the back that's grabbing its tail at the same time?
With those, that's not a huge snake. So you don't really need help with that.
Okay, well, let's talk about a big one then, like a 12 foot or 15 foot or whatever you consider big.
Okay, yeah. So if we have a 15-foot python, if you've never caught a python before and you see the head on that thing, it's pretty big and it's pretty intimidating. So I will jump on the python, right? I've already got a designated taper. So Dave keeps electrical tape in his pocket that's already started.
Uh-huh.
And so Dave will hand off to whoever we've designated earlier in the evening is going to be the taper. So I jump on the python. The taper is going to be wrapping the tape around the mouth. Like,
also, it can't bite you. I got you. I was going to...
Right. Because if you've never been around a python, and the goal is we have to wear them out, because for two reasons. First of all, pictures are way easier when they're worn out. But second of all, it's much safer to dispatch them, to euthanize them,
sure,
when they're not trying to wrap you all up. So,
right.
So that's kind of the point. So when I jump, then the taper's taping, but I also have, another person or two in the back that as soon as I jump, they grab the tail. So it can't try to wrap us while we're putting, while the tape's going on. And then, once the tape's on and we're good, then we kind of let go of it, let it move around, kind of, manipulate it a little bit to get it worn out.
So when you talk about a big snake like that, what's the girth and the widest part of the girth of those things?
It really depends on the season. So right now they're all coming off their nests. So the mamas haven't really.
So they're skinny.
Eaten. Yeah, a lot. So like my 17-footer I caught in July and she was 110 pounds. But then there was a 17-footer caught in November that was 198 pounds.
Wow.
Right. So it just, either way, it's big and it's strong,
Yeah. Well, it's muscle.
Yeah.
And they're, basically, because they're constrictors, so it's all, is it muscle, I guess, that's constricting? Is that what that is?
Yep. They're straight muscle.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's just, it's so great.
It's fun. And that's the thing, you never know what's going to happen. Last night, great example. I had and I just posted this on Instagram, actually. I had a meeting with the Invasive Species Bar over in Fort Lauderdale because we were working out some cross promotion things.
Where were you guys at? The Elbow Bar?
No, the Invasive Species Bar.
Okay.
Which is kind of fitting, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And so we're on our way back. I'm not even hunting. Like, I was going to jump on the snake deck when I got a little bit further, but we weren't even hunting. There's an 8-footer on the road. So jump out, grab the python. You just never know when you're going to see these things. It's so crazy.
Right. Yeah, I'm just thinking about all the different things. The point is that if they end up eating all the local mammals,
Mm-hmm.
they are going to start coming into town.
Yeah. Well, and I live in an area that when I first moved here, I didn't ever see a python. And now I catch them outside our neighborhood all the time. All the time. So,
and they live to be 20 to 25 years old. One of the things I read I thought was interesting. One of the ways they were looking for hunting them back, and they still may, they were using dog teams. But they compared the success to the dog teams and humans, and it was almost the same. I think in the swamps it's different because the dogs can move faster than that, but it was like 69% to 73% or something like that the dogs were a little bit more successful, but not really.
Yeah. So there's a lot that I could say about this. So some of those were done because they weren't utilizing the dogs properly.
Okay.
This is Florida, and the dog, snakes don't move 9 to 5. So if you have like FWC or, an outfit like that only, goes out during the business hours are never going to be successful, and it's going to be way too hard on the dog because it's way too hot. So, there's a lot of things that were wrong. Now, there are a lot of I wouldn't say a lot. There are a few successful examples of dogs that have happened and that are happening. So I think that they are very useful. They just it has to be done right.
Right. So I got another question for you. So you're in Florida. You've been there for a while, and I've been to Florida too. So there's all like I use the term, a lot of different kind of snakes. Tell me some of the crazier people you've dealt with. I guarantee you've had to deal with a few nutcases. Do you have any favorite story that you have that's down there that you just go, oh my God, I moved here from either Indianapolis or wherever I was in Toledo, and I'm down here and I've never seen anything like this. Do you have any of those stories?
It's interesting. Not a lot of
Really?
people stories. Yeah, it's I probably should, but although I did have one time I was hunting by myself and this coyote comes out of the woods. Like, it is on a scent. It is definitely picking up something scent because it came out with purpose with its nose up. And I was like, whoa, that thing's, hunting something down. Literally 10 seconds later, there's a homeless guy. And we never see homeless guys like in the middle of the night on
Right.
Highway 41. It was really random. I was like, oh my God, that coyote's smelling that homeless guy. This is so weird. Should I like intervene? And then I was like, well, he's probably going to like rape murder me or something if I go close. So I'm just going to let nature take its course.
Yeah, exactly. No.
See what happened. But yeah, that was kind of very strange. But, the people that, are out there. I mean, everyone's got their thing. People could be like, yeah, there's this like crazy girl in Florida that jumps in the swamp and catches snakes. So I could be the Florida man, technically.
Right.
Exactly,
Florida man. Exactly what I was thinking. I'm glad you brought that up.
Right. So I don't know. I don't have any good stories like that, but.
Have you seen, I think I told you when we first talked that, I did an episode on the Florida panther. Have you ever seen one by any chance?
I have. I've seen 4.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
That's pretty unique because not many people do.
Yeah, and to only see 4 with as much as I'm out there is not many, but it's really cool when you do see it.
The biggest danger to them is all the roads that they put out there. They get hit by cars more than anything else.
Yep, exactly.
It's crazy. Okay, what are we missing? Well, first of all, what are we missing we haven't talked about? And then I want to say one more thing.
Well, one thing that people always do ask is, can you eat them?
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, technically, yes, you can eat them.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Would I recommend it? I would not. We actually took a python to a chef in Fort Myers, and he made 4 really good dishes, but it was so chewy. Like,
well, it's mercury too, right? Mercury, right?
Yeah, it has mercury, so it's definitely not recommended. But even take the mercury out of it, it's not very good. Like, I would not at all recommend it. But I hate the fact that I don't like wasting the animals, so that's why I do skin them.
Well, that's what I wanted to talk right now. Is that one of the things you're doing, and I don't know if everybody is because the reason why there's a euthanasia program is because of all the problems, but you're trying to at least get some benefit of doing that by taking the skins and making a bunch of different things. You want to talk just a little bit about that, and we can point everybody to your website and all that kind of stuff too. But I think it's a really good thing you're doing and how unique they are, because there are in, I guess, Asia, I forget what they call it. There's a term for it because I read it on your website. In Asia, they actually have farms that are grown specifically for python stuff, but there's a unique thing to the Burmese ones in Florida.
Yeah. I do, like I said, I hate the thought of them going to waste. So the only thing you can really use is their skin, and it is beautiful, beautiful skin. So I actually had to go through a lot to get it figured out, and I skinned the pythons on my lanai, which I never thought in 10 million years I'd be doing, but that's what it is. And then I get them professionally tanned, and then I have them turned into products. But it's just something that, instead of buying an Asian python that was, like you said, raised on farm specifically for this, buy the invasive Florida pythons, because we have to get rid of them. Like, we have to do this. So,
right. You don't have an option. Somebody's going to do it if it's not you.
Right. And there are other people doing it too. And it's great. I think that the more people that skin and can make products, the better, just because we're using them.
Yeah, but one of the things what I like that I thought was interesting that what's unique to these guys is that each one has a different design. It's different than the other ones because you use a term I think like a jigsaw puzzle, and that there's different colors too, which I thought was kind of interesting.
It is amazing how many different, I mean, they all basically look the same, right? But there are definitely variations in the colors and the shading and some, and of course every pattern is different, but they're beautiful. And that's like the cool thing about it. But also, these are wild animals. They have scars on them.
Right.
We have some that, you can see the perfect alligator bites on them. They get bitten and scratched by their prey as they're suffocating them. They, get attacked. Like there was actually a bobcat that attacked a python. So you just, you get these cool like, looking scars on the skin, and the high end, Louis Vuitton and that sort of thing, they want everything the same and everything uniform. But to get a Florida python that's, has a scar on, like a product with a scar on it, that is cool. People love that because it is
its own story.
Yeah, even though it's like going to be unique anyways, it is literally the only one in the entire universe like that.
Yeah, I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So for everybody that wants to, and I'll bet you have some people that just want to do a ride along where you get to hunt them, but they just want to watch you do it and all that too. So if they want to, first of all, how do you get your website? And then two is if they want to go hunting with the Python Huntress, um, um, kind of give everybody the background information and that, and how they can find you and do all the things you're doing.
Sure. Pythonhuntress.com is my website. And if you go to the guided hunts, there's all the information, like as far as like the price, all the details. And if you're interested, then definitely email me. I don't have a way for you to book online, and that's intentional because I want to talk to every person that books with me, because I need to make sure they understand what they're getting into.
Yeah.
And set the expectations properly, because I can't guarantee that we're going to catch a python. I can't. I wish I could.
If I go fishing, there's no guarantee I'm going to catch a fish. It's the same. Yeah.
Right. And, sometimes people are like, they have the idea that in the summer, we're going to go back into the swamps, and we don't do that. There isn't a way to do that. So I don't want them to say, oh, we're hunting on main roads. This isn't very Evergladesy. Well, it is, because that's where the pythons are.
Right.
Exactly. So I just want to make sure, and I can answer any questions that people have. And I think the big thing too is that people get nervous that, okay, if I don't catch this, or if I don't want to catch it, if I get scared, because I mean, a 7-foot python isn't a big python, but it's a pretty big snake, and it's pretty intimidating.
Yeah.
And I get a lot of people that are gung-ho about catching that python, and then it's there and they're like, I think you should catch this one, which is fine. And there's no shame in that whatsoever, but it happens. And I want people to understand that I will always catch the python, but I'll give them every opportunity to do it if they want.
When people catch a python, here's something I hadn't thought about. What if they want to get the skin? Do you work it out where they can get the skin too?
Yeah. Yeah. For a fee. Yeah. We can do all that.
And then on your website, you also have where all your products are. The stuff you're making for that too.
Yeah, I do.
And what about social media?
Yep. Instagram is my big one, probably. The Python Huntress. Definitely follow me. You'll get the most there. I do have a Facebook page that you can follow. And also, I took the plunge and I got on TikTok.
You know what? I did a while ago. I actually like TikTok. I'm going to be the guy that admits it. I love music, and I'll get into it, and I'll start listening to things, and I'll start taking me all these weird things. Bob Dylan back in 1965.
Oh wow, yeah.
And their algorithm, whatever it is, it's pretty good.
Yeah,
it's definitely good. But yeah, I think TikTok, probably compared to all of them right now, has the most interesting stuff on there.
Yeah. It's a matter of me getting it there.
Yeah, I know all about that. Okay. So anything else we missed that you can think of before I torture you with my favorite thing?
No, I think that's it. But, and I get people from all over the place that want to go on python hunts for all different reasons. So, it's definitely a once in a lifetime experience. And, just as a note, we do catch all the pythons. It's all live capture. So we're not like shooting guns off of the back of the truck or anything like that. So it's all live capture. It's all done safely. And yeah, I think if anyone's interested to shoot me an email and we can talk about it.
And by the way, for everybody that's listening too, go to the description of the episode, and I've got all this information there too. If you don't want to write it down, you just go to the description, and there'll be links there, and you can just click onto that too. Okay, so Amy, this is your first torture session, but for all the people that listen all the time, as I always say, it's my favorite time to tell a silly animal joke. But as I always say, please, if you've got kids, nieces, nephews, grandchildren, you want to be on the show, if you get a hold of me at mkyle@thefurrealpodcast.com, I promise you, gladly, I will put you on to tell a joke or whatever. But trust me, I would much rather have you on than you being tortured with my joke. So, Amy, here's a joke that's relative to what we were talking about today.
Okay.
So, in school, what is a snake's favorite subject?
I don't know.
History.
Of course it is.
Of course it is.
Wah,
I forewarned you. I forewarned you. Hey, I told you. Anyways, everybody, thanks so much for listening. Amy, really, thanks for taking the time. I know you're normally working nights, and we're recording in the afternoon. So thanks so much for being on and educating everybody. And, I really do appreciate you being on the show.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
And everybody else that's listening, check out her website. Go there. I mean, think about a unique thing you could do. I think it'd be really fun. But most importantly, keep listening, keep following. Please tell people about that. With your guys' support, we get great guests like this and all that. But most importantly, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for listening. For real.
That concludes this episode of For Real with your host, markakyle. For previous and future episodes of For Real, listen via all major podcast streaming sites.